On July 19th, in Assam Sivasagar district, the water arrived with terrifying speed. Even though his house was the highest in the village, Prasanta Barua Kakur watched the floor disappear in minutes. Within 2 hours, the water was waist-deep. To stay dry, his family spent the night balanced on chairs stacked on top of their beds. In the nearby village of Holongkadani, Rika Moni Gogoi and her young son faced the same surge. When their neighbor's home became unsafe, local women helped them climb into a tree. Mother and son spent 12 hours clinging to the branches in the dark, waiting for the sun to rise over the water. Assam is currently facing its most destructive floods in 60 years. Over 80 people have died, and the water is reaching districts that haven't seen a major flood since 1950. This destruction happens despite years of political rhetoric. During almost every election cycle over the last decade, leaders have stood before the public and promised to build a flood-free Assam. Billions of rupees have been spent on infrastructure, yet the water continues to bypass these defenses and drown new territory. To understand why these man-made barriers are failing, we have to look at the physical forces of the valley itself. Geographically, Assam is trapped. The state sits inside a topographical bowl, surrounded by steep hills on 3 sides. Every drop of rain that falls on those slopes has to drain through a single, narrow outlet leading into Bangladesh. When the surrounding mountains receive extreme rainfall, like the recent storms in Nagaland that reached 400% above normal levels, the valley becomes a funnel. Massive volumes of water rush down the slopes and hit that single bottleneck all at once. The Brahmaputra's destructive power comes as much from its debris as its volume. It carries roughly 5.5 times more sediment per square kilometer than the Amazon River. In the mountains, the steep incline gives the water enough speed to carry heavy rocks and mud. But as the river enters the flat plains of Assam, it loses speed. It can no longer hold that weight, so it dumps millions of tons of sediment directly onto the riverbed. This constant accumulation raises the river floor every single year. As the bed builds up, the water is forced outward, widening the river's footprint and drowning the surrounding land. The Brahmaputra effectively transports the mountains themselves into the valley. It is a geological force that cannot be contained by traditional engineering. The current crisis was set in motion on August 15, 1950. An 8.6 magnitude earthquake triggered massive landslides, collapsing entire mountainsides into the river. The debris was so massive it raised the riverbed by 10 feet in areas like Dibrugarh. This forced the water to carve entirely new, erratic paths, permanently redrawing the region's flood map. The government's main response has been the construction of embankments, roughly 4,800 kilometers of mud and concrete walls designed to keep the river in place. However, these static walls are ineffective against a river whose floor rises every year. When the floods arrive, the water is already at a higher elevation than the defenses. The walls don't provide protection. They simply breach. Mechanical dredging, using machines to dig sediment out of the river, is equally ineffective. The volume of debris washing down from the mountains replaces what is dug out almost instantly. Critics and researchers point to a deeper issue, a cycle of corruption. Because these embankments are designed to fail, a network of contractors and officials is guaranteed a continuous stream of profitable repair contracts every year. Engineering with walls and bulldozers fails against the raw scale of this sediment. It is a losing battle, further complicated by heavy deforestation and the intense rainfall patterns of climate change. A flood-free Assam is a geographical impossibility. Fighting the Brahmaputra is like trying to put a roof over an active volcano. Japan faces similar geographical challenges with earthquakes and tsunamis. They know they cannot stop the earth from moving, so they completely adapted their society, their architecture, and their emergency training to survive the inevitable. Assam must move toward this model of adaptation. This starts with enforcing floodplain zoning laws. The central government created a model for these laws in 1975 to regulate where people can safely build, but the state has yet to implement them. Architecture must also change. This means transitioning to permanent stilted housing and building elevated community platforms that provide access to clean water and healthcare even during a surge. Finally, the region needs localized early warning systems and mandatory disaster management training at the village level. ensuring every family knows how to respond before the water reaches their door. To help you prepare for the next monsoon, I've put together a free downloadable PDF guide on flood safety. It lists the essential do's and don'ts for anyone living in flood-prone areas, like Assam, Bihar, or Mumbai. You can find the link in the pinned comment. Leaders continue to promise engineering solutions that geography simply won't allow. Until the region accepts its environment and learns to adapt, the destruction will repeat every monsoon.